What? Oh man. Thanks for joining me tonight. Jason J. Daniel show. I'm back. All right. I had to get on the internet. After the last show about Kit Kat, the cat who knew Ukrainian, who could speak Ukrainian, I really thought the gods were going to pull me off the internet, but I survived. Thanks for watching, guys. My name is Jason J. Daniel. I do a podcast. I talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff. Politics. I'm in California, Northern California. I'm very connected to the political scene out here. I mean, not as much as some others, but I try to stay connected. And I cover true crime, sports. I do sports too. Tonight is a special night. It's a special night. Um, Not a good night for Gavin Newsom. I'm going to go ahead and do a little sound check here. Let's see here. Let's make sure we can. That's me. Okay. So Gavin Newsom's crime mama got busted. Okay. So Gavin's neighborhood, Gavin Newsom's crime neighborhood has now become the center of attention for the nation. And if you haven't heard about it, let's just give you the update right now. Let's get into it. Normally I do a little monologue, but let's just get right to it because it's so juicy. We got to get on this, man. I decided to go live. It's 10 p.m. California time. Normally I don't go live this late, but this news was so hot. It's been cooking for 4 or 5 hours. I'm kind of feeling like I'm late to the party, but I wanted to talk about it tonight. So Mayor McHottie, Gavin Newsom, remember they called him Mayor McHottie in San Francisco? Oh, Gabby, he's so hot. Well, Mayor McHottie has a hot potato, not potatoes porter, but a hot problem right now. His ex chief of staff, okay, who he fired or put on leave, and then she quit a year ago. We'll get into that. And her gang, I guess it's 3 or 4 idiots, were indicted for stealing 225K around that from campaign funds from another politician. We'll talk about that. Becerra, I believe that's how you say his last name. So these idiots, thinking they were not going to get caught, came up with a scheme to split up this campaign account that was dormant. And we'll get into the details. There's a lot of coverage. If you haven't heard about it, we'll get into the details. These idiots, they cooked up this scheme thinking no one's going to miss campaign funds. Do you know what's most important to politicians? There's nothing more important than campaign funds. If they have one account, awesome. If they have 2 accounts, that's even better. They're never going to forget. So clearly somebody saw this scheme either at the bank. I'll talk about how they were manipulating it. They were doing $10,000 deposits to try to stay under the radar. You know that every deposit over 10 grand or like right around 10 grand has to be reported. They were creating a fake job for one guy's wife, which is very mafia, right? So Mayor McHottie has a mafioso kind of operation going on. And you're going to say, oh, well, Kevin didn't know anything about it, Jason. Okay, well, as Mayor McHottie is in Brazil, okay, he's in Brazil right now doing jack shit, obviously just trying to promote himself. He's a lame duck. Nobody cares about him in California. That's why he went to Texas, then he went to Brazil, because he's now a nationwide figure in his mind. He is a legend in his own empty head. So he has a syndicate, a crime syndicate going on, I guess, around him, and it's running through his top chief of staff. That's like number 2, number 3. Now, the lieutenant governor doesn't matter when it comes to Gavin. He does everything. Gavin does. So let's just realize the chief of staff is probably numero 2. All right. Numero dos in power. This chick had a lot of power, and we'll get into it. Her name is Dana Williamson. So Mayor McHottie's chief of staff, see, he made sure that he put her on leave as soon, and he knew about it. So we'll talk about that. Apparently Gavin knew that she was being interviewed by the FBI. And so for about a year, looks like about a year, they kept it under wraps. Gavin Newsom somehow kept this under wraps. And I'll tell you how. He has the Sacramento Bee. He has channel this, channel 10, channel 3, channel 4. He's got channel 5 in LA. He's got the LA Time. He's got San Francisco Chronicle. He's got everybody under his finger, under his thumb until now. Politico, everybody has wanted Mayor McHottie to have a higher elevated status because they saw him as the only guy that could stop Trump. Whatever. That's not happening. And this is another nail in his political, I guess you can say, political coffin to go to run for president. That's a clumsy way to say it, but that's that. This is another thing. Gavin Newsom knew about this. That to me is bigger than them stealing the money. Now, nobody wants the money to be stolen, and it wasn't taxpayer money, according to what they're saying. It was campaign funds, which comes from rich cats, right? Because they do these big fundraisers and they stuff this money away. Democrats don't take your little donations; they just don't. Okay, they don't care about that. They just fundraise and go to all their friends. And Gavin picks up the phone. Pelosi, all those cats. And they're just trying to. He's just trying to enrich everybody in California so they can be the next, political Democrat to carry that Gavin Newsom dynasty forward. So it wasn't Gavin's money, but it was another high profile politician. So this news is breaking. It's huge. Thanks for watching, guys. Jason J. Daniels show. So I had to talk about it. It's a big deal for me in the sense that it's another just another shred of this collapsing administration. There's going to be more and more stuff coming out because there's no way Gavin Newsom could run the way he was running and all the just bullshit he did to people and how things fell apart and people died in fires, COVID. He tried to destroy the economy with COVID. He was a hypocrite with that. He was part of the scam and the lie with that. He has done all sorts of damage with his propaganda to the nation. I mean, every day his X accounts, his Twitter accounts, pump out the worst propaganda, the most egregious lies. It's stuff that you can totally prove are lies. Gavin Newsom traffics in lies. So would you be shocked that his chief of staff is a crook, is a thief? Would you be shocked? So Gavin's crime mama, her name is Dana Williamson. We'll talk about Dana. Dana had a nice little perp walk, okay, which just she looks like just a total idiot buffoon, and we'll show you that. It's a disgrace, man. It's a disgrace. And so Gavin Newsom, obviously, he's going to have to talk about it when he comes back because no one's going to ask him about it in Brazil. But when he comes back, I'm hoping the media holds him accountable. Now, from what I've seen tonight, it's everywhere. And Trump's going to make a thing of it, clearly, because Gavin Newsom blames everything on Trump. In fact, they blame this on Trump. This is what they do, which it's just the hypocrisy is disgusting. Look, I'm open-minded to people who would choose a Democrat over Donald Trump. I'm very open-minded to that. But what I'm not open-minded to is someone like Gavin Newsom, who is just a fucking hypocrite. And everything he points at the president or the administration or anybody, whoever he points the finger at about a thing, he's doing that thing. He projects on everyone. Gavin Newsom projects all of his criminality on everyone else. And yeah, he's a fucking criminal. He launders money. He burns through taxpayer funds. The Proposition 50 was illegal. That's a scam. He burnt $300 million. And he has certified crooks working with him, sitting at the table with him. This lady's known him for years. And so apparently he didn't know anything about it. Of course he did. Now I'm assuming this is going to be settled before or out of court before they go to any kind of trial because he's a witness. He's a key figure. In fact, he took an action to distance himself by letting her go when he found out the FBI interviewed her last year. He made moves that would make me as an investigator, look, I'm no expert, but it would make me as an investigator go, he's a witness. What did he know? What did he see? Right? So she's looking at 20 years in the slam. Now, who knows if she'll get that? I have to say, lately the politicians, and she's a politician, she's the chief of staff, the politicians that have been getting in trouble in the last year or so, they've been going to Club Fed. At least the federal indictments we've been seeing, in most cases, they're getting time. So we'll see about this. So she's Dana. So everyone's researching Dana Williamson now. She was under the radar, but apparently not now. And what's also interesting is the charges. Okay, they include, it's like 23 counts. So it's looking at 20 years in the slam. The charges include lying to the FBI. So they interviewed her, and I have the indictment hit the internet. So we'll talk about that. So they interviewed her, and she flat out lied to the FBI. Which is the craziest thing to do. Now, apparently, the other people are part of this scheme. Two of them rolled over and said, "We're fucking guilty," and they made a deal already, which is probably how they got her. She's the crime mama. She's the one. She's clearly the one they're going to make. She pleaded not guilty, and they perp walked her and all that stuff, and they're clearly going to make a thing of it today. But her charges include lying to the FBI, which they don't fuck with that. Federal corruption charges. Okay. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud. That they're going to get you on. They're going to get that. There's something about the bank fraud that the government, and wire fraud, the government just does not tolerate that. It's hard. From what I'm seeing, it's hard to get a deal on that, right? So crime mama is going to do time. There's no way she's not going to do time unless she rolls over on a bigger fish, and I don't see that happening. Now, make no mistake, I'm not saying Gavin Newsom was involved in it. That's something that there's no evidence to that. But when I say he's a criminal, he has done criminal things as the governor that he should have been indicted for. His buffoonery, his misuse of taxpayer money, his creating Proposition 50 was an illegal scheme, which is going to get overturned in the courts, and a number of things he did with the fires. He's negligent in the fires. They're not holding him accountable. Nobody is going after Gavin Newsom on that level. Now, maybe the Attorney General of the United States might, who knows? Because, I mean, right now, anything's possible. Trump is on the revenge tour, so anything's possible. And Gavin is saying this is, of course, Gavin's statement said this is part of the revenge tour. It's not, because this was going on before. They're saying Biden was in office when this investigation started. And there is no indication as to how the DOJ was tipped off to this, but I have some theories, and I'll give them to you. I will. So once again, if you're joining me late, you probably heard this story already. I just thought I'd get on and talk about it. I normally don't get on this late, but why not? Gavin's crime mama, Dana Williamson, she's looking at 20 years in the slam. So let's go to I like to go to the tape. Let's go to the video. Let's play something pretty wild. This cat here is doing a live feed outside the courthouse. Oh, sorry, I got to share it. There you go. This cat here is doing a live feed outside the courthouse, right? I've been out to this area. I've been in downtown. I used to have a business in Sacramento, so I know Sacramento really well. By the way, shout out to you guys watching on Twitch. Thank you so much. We're live on Twitch. We're live on X. Thank you guys for watching on X. We're live on Rumble and YouTube. Thank you guys for subscribing. Jason J. Daniels Show. So this cat here, he's outside the courthouse doing his thing, and check this out.
Not guilty was her plea. Now, this is big news for someone who once held one of the most powerful jobs in Sacramento, and now we're just waiting on Williamson to leave the courthouse here. And actually, here she is live. Here we go, everybody, live on Cron 4. Miss Williamson live on Cron 4.
Get her.
Oops, sorry. Any comment?
Should other California officials and people involved in the government be concerned now with this investigation underway?
Good question.
Do you have any comment, Miss Williamson?
No, you guys can contact my attorney.
No, you can
anything to say at all.
Ms. Williamson, do you have anything to
She doesn't sound like somebody who's freaking out over these charges.
say to Javier Becerra right now?
Becerra. That's the cat she stole the money from.
He called this.
Have you been cooperating with prosecutors? Excuse me.
Ms. Williamson, you have nothing to say with the 23 counts against you.
Do you have your side of the story you would like to share with Cron 4 viewers? Do you have your side of
Look at her. She's dressed like phony soprano. Look, here's phony soprano. Look at this. She's got her glasses on. What is this? Like a jogging robe? What is
the
this?
story you'd like to share with the viewers
Who comes out dressed in like a robe?
at home?
She keeps saying it's hard to hear. Talk to my attorney. I don't know if that's her attorney that's hugging her or whoever.
And Justine, we're watching this live. There you have Governor Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff getting into a car here outside of the federal courthouse in Sacramento. And there she goes. You can see it's a media scrum out here, Justine. This all happening live.
Is she smiling?
Here on Cron 4. Again, that's Dana Williamson, former chief of staff to Governor Gavin Newsom. They're answering my question. She said if we could speak to her attorneys, that's how we will hear. But we should tell you that her attorneys earlier said they had no comment on this. And there you see the car.
There's a guy on a bike right there chasing her.
Now, a little bit about this, Justine.
Okay, that's pretty good. A little bit about this, Justine. All right, that's pretty awesome. So this is Cron News. This is the cats in San Francisco. Now they're downtown they're in downtown Sacramento. The federal courthouse is in obviously Sacramento, so that's where they do all the Fed indictments and stuff like that. So that's some live video of her. Not live video. It was live at the time, clearly, of her getting walked out. Let's go to this interesting tab here. Okay, so New York Times is covering it, and you've got here it's interesting here. So here's a picture. It's Politico. We'll get to that article. This is the best picture of her. Doesn't she look great? She looks like phony soprano. Here's another shot. So these are all shots from that video or that moment, right? Everybody has a different angle of that. But look at this. Instagram is popping. Like there's a lot of already. There's now these poor people, their names are her name. This poor lady, she's got to deal with this shit. So let's jump to Capital Weekly, which this is an interesting article here. It's talking about Crime Mama. Phony soprano. So this is some Sacramento, I guess, political insider blog or something. I'm not quite familiar with it, but this is a very interesting write-up on her. So I guess we need to get to know Crime Mama. Like what is she doing at the Capitol? What is her job? Who is she to Gavin Newsom? Because that's going to be important to what we're going to talk about in a second. So this was posted in 2015. Wild, right? So 10 years ago, almost 11, right? Now, I'm going to jump down here. This says updated in August 2024. I think that was right around the time that Gavin gave her the boot. Let's read this. I'm not sure if it's odd. The person writing this, I'm not sure if it's sarcasm or if it's just a style, or if they're against Gavin or pro Gavin, but it's a really weird way of writing this. But they're saying she's the chief of staff. The chief of staff of the governor usually tops this list. So I guess she's the top 100. I guess somehow she's a power player. And this picture is that's not an attractive picture or drawing or whatever. She just looks sinister. Let's see here. Okay, it says chief of staff to the governor usually tops this list. There's no tougher job out there. All governors are by nature ambitious and driven. Okay. And most are also prickly. You mean a douchebag like Gavin Newsom, temperamental, a scumbag, and a touch narcissistic. Oh, okay. So you see where I'm coming from. I'm not sure if this is sarcasm, but either way, all of which describes Newsom. Okay, to a T. Even if we were only talking about running the state of California, which you might have heard is a big job. In that regard, Newsom is prone to throwing himself into a number of issues, blah, blah, blah. No, he's not. It all blends into a stew that requires a chief who can multitask as well as he can, who knows Sacramento politics inside and out. Okay. And folks who knows politics inside and out and who also has her own gravitas baked in, and who is not afraid to plant a boot in the appropriate backside when needed. You're going to see a theme with her is that she's some nasty, mean, tough customer. No, she's a crook. She's a thief. It's crazy. The nastiest ones are always usually doing something illegal. Think about that. Think about everybody that comes out. There's something going on behind the scenes, and they were always a dick or a douchebag to people. And they're like, oh, they're just tough. Oh, they're edgy. No, they're just a crook. And they were trying to keep people away from them, right? The nastier they are, the less people look into them because it's a form of power. If you teach people, I'll bite you. If you get too close, then people don't get close. You can get away with shit. So, okay, Dana Williamson is that person, a former advisor and cabinet secretary to Jerry Brown. Okay. So she's very in with the loons. Okay. Anybody that worked with Jerry Brown, the litmus test was, are you an absolute loon? And the same thing with Newsom. She's a loon. Speaking of challenging personalities, as well as a longtime political strategist behind some of California's most notable ballot measure campaigns. So she is a problem for California because a lot of California's ballot measures have just been more and more trickling down and taking away freedom from people. That's what California does. And then it gets, once they've taken away as many freedoms as they can take away without getting the Supreme Court involved, because no one here resists them anyway, then they start doing the social justice and the social change loon stuff, which is where Gavin's at, right? That's what his boy, Fried Wieners, is in charge of that stuff, the crazy legislation. So it goes on to say that Williamson manages the controlled fury of Newsom world with a deft hand. She is a loyal without being overly deferential, highly strategic. This is interesting, okay? Because it turns out this person, all these attributes they're describing and saying, stay with me here, they're saying that these are all political strengths, but it turns out she's a capo for Gavin Newsom. She's a crime boss. So these aren't strengths. These are criminal tendencies. These are red flags. And isn't it interesting how you look at criminals and their preposterousness and the things they do, and then you look at politicians that are unhinged and their actions are so aligned. It's wild. So this person who they say is strategic, oh yeah, and absolutely unafraid to go heads up with anyone. She's clearly unafraid of stealing. She's clearly unafraid of doing something completely against the law. Like you don't accidentally do what they did, and we'll get into it. This is a plot. All right. So she's a schemer. I hit my mic. She's a schemer. She's a plotter. And that's what Gavin Newsom loves. He loves schemers. He doesn't want, see, this is what goes on. And I pray to God that when a new administration comes in, that they're going to really be honestly trying to run the state, because Gavin Newsom does not run the state. He runs a syndicate. He runs a crime syndicate. He does everything for him. Everything he does is to put the people down and to put more power in his pocket. And to me, that's corrupt. He's a corrupt guy. So she's the capo for him. And they're very close together. They're close. And how close? Well, this guy talks about it. So she goes, she's afraid to go heads up with anyone. Or I'm assuming, guy, who wrote this? It doesn't. Does it say who wrote? Okay, this is just by Capital Weekly. Okay. So a combo of people. Let's see here. As protective as she might be of him and his agenda. So she is this Capital Weekly, and sounds like they know what they're talking about. She was his protector. Now, she was the chief of staff for 2 years until he gave her the axe when he found out. Politico revealed that later on today. That broke later after she was the indictment hit. And she had to, well, she was already indicted and they kept it under wraps. And then today she did her arraignment. And isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing that they kept it under wraps until Proposition 50 was done? Isn't that amazing? Now, the DOJ, they're the ones that sent the indictment forward. So I'm not saying that the DOJ had any kind of planning in this, but the media must have known. There's no way. In fact, Politico had a story ready to go. Boom. Talked about what happened when Gavin found out. Okay. A year ago. So this has been going on for more than a year, guys. This didn't just happen yesterday. This investigation has been going on for a year. Phony Soprano, Mama Capo, was interviewed by the FBI last year and lied to them, and then went to Newsom and said, "Here's what's going on. I was interviewed by the FBI." Now, did she tell him why? Probably. It would make no sense for him to say, "I don't want to know why." Maybe he did distance himself. Who knows? But all we know is that he took an action when he found out. That, to me, is something that is very, very telling. It's a red flag. If somebody, if I was working, if I was him, well, I can't say that because I would never be an idiot. So if I was somebody in that situation, and you look, I don't like Gavin Newsom. You probably figured that out. I think this is just, I'm not surprised. If you think I'm hard on him, I'm being nice. Okay? I'm trying to be respectful to the office, not to the person. And he has certifiably ruined the economy of California and literally caused the deaths of people because of his incompetence and because of his unwillingness to follow the law and do his fucking job. So I have no sympathy for him. And the sooner his term is over, the happier I will be and the better this state will be once he is out of office, because he has been a drain on us for 20 plus years. I mean, he was in San Francisco before becoming the governor, but he was lieutenant governor for 2 terms. This guy has done nothing but just fuck shit up and act like a Nepo baby that's out of control. And now he clearly is a Nepo baby out of control. And clearly he's got a bunch of unhinged crooks surrounding him. It is what we thought it was. It's an unruly band of crooks. It's like a crime family. Joe Biden had the same thing. Are you shocked? Okay. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, of course. But I wasn't shocked like you might be, because I know Gavin Newsom. I've been tracking his career since before San Francisco. I have been on top of it because I've been a very concerned citizen, and I've lived in California. I've lived in Northern California. I've lived out here, and the things that he has done has affected everybody in California for years. All right, I digressed. So she's protective of him. And it says here in the article that she has the thing every great chief of staff has: the willingness to tell the boss things he do. Fuck, of course she doesn't. They're working together. She's telling him what to do, and he's like, "Okay, mommy, should I do that, mommy?" That's why she was bold enough to get away. She's like, "The governor's in my pocket. He's going to protect me." Why would she think that? Because she's protecting him from shit. I'm sure there's stuff he's done that's what chief of staff does. She puts it away. She threatens people. Why would she be a heavy-handed, like they're saying here, enforcer? Because everybody was trying to take Newsom out, because Newsom is very vulnerable. Newsom has a very terrible past. Newsom is a jackass. He did all sorts of crazy shit as Mayor McHottie, and then when he became lieutenant governor, he was a waste of space, and then he accidentally gets elected as the governor, and it's been hell on wheels, and it's just been a buffoon show. It's been a clown show. But you always need a ringmaster. You need a capo. So she's his little boss. So she tells him what he wants to hear. This is a lie. That is critical, particularly in that Newsom has traditionally surrounded himself with people who have been with him for years, which Williamson, like Jim DeBoeuf before her, I don't know who that is. He's an old guy, of course, has not. But she has clearly earned his trust and his ear. Okay. He knows her. He's known her for years. They're very close together, working together. And in an environment as fluid and occasionally chaotic as this one, it's all chaotic. Can you imagine how chaotic it is working for Newsom? Jesus Christ. Her ability to keep everything calm in order and moving forward is invaluable. She's the obvious choice for this spot, and picking anyone else would have just been plain dumb. The writing is just weird. The ending, that's just weird. So we're establishing, okay, that the crime mama is very close to Gavin. We're establishing that. I'm going to take this out. It's bothering me. We're establishing that the crime. Actually, I need it. We're establishing. I should get some better ones. We're establishing that crime mama, Dana Williamson, is very close to Newsom. There's no two ways around it. Speaking of that, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Gavi. Politico drops this story. So Javier Becerra, if I'm pronouncing that right, cool. If not, apologies. That's not. I'm not very good with some names, and if you've been watching my podcast, I do my best. So Politico says Newsom put then and then in Javier is who they stole the money from. Okay, so Newsom put the then chief on leave last year amid criminal probe. Okay, so another California public official, Javier Becerra, the former health secretary now running for governor, okay, voluntarily cooperated in the investigation. Okay, now it also, and so there's also a chief of staff for him who was part of this. Politico's got to put a picture of Gavin acting like he's tough with his probably $400, I'd say, gray coverage. Maybe he gets a deal in the American flag back there because he's Gavi. He's new scum. Okay, so Gavin Newsom, this is the art. Now, they dropped this at 6:52 p.m. Eastern time, right after, I think that, 2 o'clock Pacific was when Phony Soprano was arraigned. She pleads not guilty, walks out with the sunglasses, talk to my lawyer, in her Tony Soprano robe. So Phony Soprano gets in the car like you watched on the video, and then boom, this drops. It says here, Governor Gavin Newsom, Melanie Mason, put his former chief on leave when he learned a year ago that she was under criminal investigation, according to his office. So Gavin knew more than just, hey, she got interviewed. He knew she was under criminal investigation. Why? Because the FBI talked to him. There's no reason they wouldn't. He's the governor. And they probably said to him, hey, we're going to interview her. You need to make sure she's there. This is how it works. So he was totally aware, guys. Gavin knew. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, the governor of the great state of California, his chief of staff at the time, acting chief of staff, getting paid $235,000 a year, by the way. Talk about a greedy motherfucker. She's getting a very good salary to do jack shit and fuck California up with her little accomplice, Gavin. She's getting paid extremely well. So this greedy chief of staff, this greedy capo, Gavin's capo, is now under criminal indictment. He finds out. He keeps it under wraps. He hides it. That is something the people of California should have been told right away. But instead, he hides it. This is Gavin Newsom. All kidding and joking aside, and all nicknames and the, you know me, this is a serious deficiency in Gavin Newsom. He's a liar. He hides things. He changes the truth. He revises history. He does not believe in telling you the truth unless it's convenient to him. So a year ago, his chief of staff, number 2 or 3 or whatever, very powerful position in California, moving legislation, whipping votes for him. They're calling her his guard dog, somebody part of the agenda, sitting at his side in the photos, criminally under investigation. Wasn't indicted yet, but if the FBI is knocking on your door, there's a problemo. Gavin Newsom knew, and he kept it from the people. This is why there's no way. Well, this is another reason. There's no fucking way Gavin Newsom should ever be close to being elected as president of the United States. He's just not fit for duty. He's not made for it. There's some things you're just not going to be. He's not going to be the president. There's so many things, and I guess I'm turning it into this, but there's so many things that, and let me just take a moment. Let me stop sharing just to talk to you. I'm being very serious. I'm spending my evening to do this, to share this story, to get this story out. There's a reason for me to do this. It's important to me because people who have no voice, people who feel like no one listens to them, stop voting, they stop caring, and they just don't give a fuck. And then you get guys like Gavin Newsom completely taking advantage and enriching themselves and creating some sort of narcissistic legacy. So when he's older, he can put it on a mantle as a Nepo baby and say, oh, I did something, mommy. Look what I did to California. It's so important for people to realize he is not qualified to be the governor, but he got there. He's not qualified to be the president. He's morally bankrupt. And look, I'm not some judgmental guy. I don't necessarily care about the personal lives of politicians. I could care, I'll be real, I could care less if they keep their wedding vows. I could care less if they're a good, I guess, I don't know, a good citizen per se. I could, whatever the moral compass is, I don't necessarily care. Just don't cheat the people. Do your job. Don't lie to the people. Be honest, right? Don't be corrupt. That's all I ask. So it's not fair for me to say to a man or a woman, don't morally in your personal life, don't do immoral stuff. That's not, I don't vote on that. That's do your thing. Okay. But if that comes into your job, it's a conversation. If you're hurting people, destroying their marriages like Gavin did and embarrassing them in front of the world forever on the internet, that's a conversation. How you treat people is a conversation. But what you do in your personal life, morally, it's not a thing for me. So when I say he is disqualified and he is corrupt and morally bankrupt, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the things that he has done in office in San Francisco and in office here as the governor that have been immoral to the people and to people around him. He doesn't care about people. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about the citizens. He's outside of a vehicle when the fires are raging, doing in front of the fires, doing all sorts of PR while the fires are happening. Things are burning down and he's doing PR with, did you get my good side? And then he's not on the phone with anybody. And a lady runs up to him. Oh, governor, help me, help me. I'm sorry, I'm on the phone with the president. He wasn't on the phone with the president. He wasn't on the phone with anybody. He fucking lies to her. She's like, who on the phone with the president? She goes, can I hear? Can I talk? Up. Well, I mean, I was going to call him. He's the biggest fucking liar. That's what I'm talking about. People's lives are destroyed in front of him. He doesn't have the decency or the heart to say, I'm here for you. I'll tell you why. Because he never grew up with that. He was never mentored. No one mentored Gavin Newsom and gave him a heart. He doesn't have a heart. The things he's done in his career are heartless. He does not care if he lies to you. He lies to the media. He lies to the people all the time. If you follow his social media accounts right now, you will be disgusted by the lies they propagate hour by hour. The lies that they tell, the propaganda, the hateful stuff. Before Charlie Kirk was killed, Gavin Newsom was saying hateful stuff. After Charlie Kirk was viciously murdered because the liberals are out of control and unhinged with their murder philosophies, He took about a day off, maybe 3 days, and then started up again, making up lies, calling people fascists and stuff to get violent. He's a morally bankrupt guy. He does not have, here's the thing. He hasn't lived a life like me or you where you've had to put your life, you've had to be self-made, create your life. He was born a Nepo baby, born into money. He never had a real job. He's never worked a day in his life. He was granted political power. Nancy Pelosi's always helped Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is a lapdog for Pelosi. Gavin Newsom does not have the ability to care about people. He just doesn't. So if you think that's fine, it's not, because it disqualifies you from being the president. You have to care about people. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, that's, I know what you might be thinking. That's Donald Trump. You may think the same thing about Trump, the president, that I think about Newsom. That's fine. And that's fair. He's done things that might make you think the same thing. And yeah, he was essentially a Nepo guy too. He grew up with money. Okay. What's the difference? The difference is Donald Trump is the president. Gavin Newsom is a wannabe. That's the difference. And on the national stage, there's no way Newsom, I'll just say this. If Newsom got elected, he'd be impeached. There's no way in hell he would not be. He's just too corrupt. He's got too many skeletons in the closet. Back to this. Crime Mama. 2 years as chief of staff, and would continue to be, if she wasn't busted by the FBI, she would still be doing the scheme and his chief of staff. So let's go back to the article. I know I digress, but he's disqualified. He's not qualified. Gavin Newsom is a dirtbag. He's not qualified. And this is another reason why. When he had the opportunity to be honest, this article says he learned a year ago she was under criminal investigation, according to his office, and he hid it. He kept it hidden. Is this what you want in a president? No, he's never going to get there. His approval rating is 5% on the Democrat field. Kamala Harris is 13%. 13% of Democrats want her to run again. 5 maybe want Gavin. He's not. Shapiro, no one's even talking about him. There's all sorts of better candidates to try to win a general. He's not going to make it through the primary. And this could be it. I saw this and was like, this is over for him. He's better look at a private sector job, or maybe, who knows? God, who knows? He's not running. He'll weasel his way onto the ticket as the vice president, but he's a major liability. I wouldn't want him as vice president candidate if I was Shapiro. Newsom, for example, Newsom is all about the anti-Semitic part of the Democrat Party. He has fostered it. He has not said anything about it. He's cool with it. He's cool with that stuff. He thinks that part of the party is important, just like Mondami. They're cool with it. Shapiro, who's probably going to be the front runner, that will clearly not work. Okay, so Dana Williamson, who was indicted on public corruption charges Wednesday, was interviewed by the FBI. I think she was indicted sooner, but she was arraigned today. Was interviewed by the FBI in November while still working as Newsom's top aide. A month later, she's out. At the time, listen to this one. This one disturbed me. At the time, phony Soprano was hailed by her allies, she has allies, as the governor's political assassin. Interesting, right? In the state capitol for her bare-knuckled approach. How is that even something? How is that a good person? She's an assassin in politics, and she has a bare-knuckled approach. In a send-off statement, Newsom lauded her insight, tenacity, and big heart. Oh, she's got a big heart. It's probably got all sorts of. She probably needs it to get checked. So this is why I think she seemed cool as ice walking out in her robe. I think she thinks she's got enough friends to get her past this. But that's what they think, right? That's why they do these things. That's why they continue to steal. Now, she wasn't stealing from me or you. I mean, unless you gave to years ago, because this money was old money. I guess it's been sitting around for a long time and no one had done anything with it. So they thought, hey, no one's going to miss this. Let's just siphon this shit. At least that's a general approach to describe their strategy. So Newsom had known for an entire month that she'd been questioned by the FBI. It says here she informed him in November, and he immediately placed her on leave. That's inconsistent. When she informed him, he placed her on leave, but he knew she was under indictment, or he knew she was under criminal investigation. So the time, obviously, you're not going to get the true story. The true story is not what you're going to get. The true story is worse than this. He knew about it for longer, probably. And keep in mind, he was connected to the Biden administration, and this started. All reports are saying this started during the Biden administration, the investigation. Newsom had known for a month, blah, blah, blah. He puts her on leave and then says, and nobody asked the question. That's a big story. Nope. So there's no articles about this at all. Nobody had a feel for this. Everybody leaks, okay? But nobody leaked this. Somebody else knew. People knew, okay? So it wanted to leak, but they had it on hold. They were doing Gavin a favor. Because if that had happened last year, what was happening in November of last year? Bingo. Election. It would have been a huge story, right? So they're helping him out because they were all trying to beat Trump, and they're still trying to beat the guy who beats him all the time. They'll never learn, man. They better just join him. Honestly, if I was Newsom, I'd be kissing up to Trump instead of attacking him because it's not working, and now it's only going to get worse. It's too late, though, now. He's taken it way too far. The indictment alleges that Williamson made false statements in her interview with the feds, an act that's among one of the 23 federal charges she now faces. Jesus Christ, one charge is bad. I don't know. With 23 charges and everybody rolling over, phony soprano walked out in her robe acting really cool as a cucumber. That to me is, you're a sociopath. Normal people come unglued in that situation. The story goes on in the other article, she was crying in court during the arraignment. Of course, because she's trying to show that she has fake remorse. She doesn't. She's an actor. Politicians are very good actors. They're good liars. They're actors, okay? She's an actor. She's deceived herself. Now, if she gets off on this, gets off from this, I'll be shocked. It just doesn't look good for her. She pleaded not guilty on Wednesday to all charges, which include conspiracy to commit wire fraud. That's bad. There's conspiracy and there's wire fraud. There's two different things. Whenever you see conspiracy on an indictment, that's not healthy. A bank fraud, she's accused along with two other California consultants of fraudulently transferring money from a dormant campaign account belonging to Javier Becerra, now gubernatorial candidate. The indictment alleges Williamson and Becerra's former aide, led Becerra to believe the money was being used for consulting expenses. So they lied to him. These are liars. They're all liars. Newsom is the chief liar. They all lie. They just do. It's wild. The truth is there's nobody watching the store. Who does Gavin Newsom report to? Nobody. The Attorney General of the United States, maybe. And the people, if they recall him, which they tried and they couldn't. He does whatever he wants because there's no check and balance on Gavin Newsom. So they lied to him, and Becerra says in a statement, you could probably read that statement everywhere. In the statement, he said, it's like a gut punch. Now, I'm from what I'm seeing, I don't think Becerra knew. I think he was clearly lied to because, I mean, if he knew, he put a stop to it, right? Because it's his money. It's his candidates. Any money that's fundraised, they consider it their money because that's their lifeblood, right? The money gives them more power. They're about the power, not necessarily the money. That's why he was trusting these people. But look, they're his former his trusted aides. You know, I don't trust people, but I can anymore because I've had people do lie and steal from me. But I suppose, you know, he thought, okay, hey, we're all the same devils here in the same hell. So why would we lie to each other? So two other consultants, Greg Campbell and Sean McCluskey, entered plea agreements last week. So this people knew this was coming down. So they agreed to pay restitution. So they're gonna get time, I think. I think Campbell McCluskey is. I think McCluskey's looking at 5 years, and he's cooperating. But they probably rolled over on the capo, Mama Capo. So that article's. So here's what's also interesting. I should have took that graphic off. Sorry, guys. So what I thought was also quite interesting is that the what she spent the money on. So Gavin's capo, Dana, phony soprano, took thieved campaign funds. She spent 15 grand on a Chanel handbag and a ring. Okay. $10,000 according to the indictment, and a payment to a relative. Just here's 10 grand. Relatives, oh, thank you. A $21,000 private jet trip. A $9,000 watch. Who buys a $9,000 watch unless you're very wealthy? That stands out. A $21,000 private jet? Who okay, we're taking the jet. We're going to get a private jet this weekend. Who does that? Who does that when you're not normally doing that? How's that not a red flag? And then a yacht rental? So Gavin's chief of staff is stealing campaign money, wearing Chanel, giving money away to relatives, chartering a $21,000 private jet trip. Where did you go? Interesting, right? $21,000, a $9,000 watch, $11,000 yacht rental. Oh, and by the way, SNAP payments for the poor or those that need financial assistance were cut off by the Democrats. But yet Gavin Newsom and all of his cronies are living it up. And now we're finding out they're stealing money to live it up. It's disgraceful. It's disgusting. And so this is probably this is how the feds got tipped off. Because, and this is how it works. When you're a nasty person, when you're a nasty thief and a crook, you're a thief, and you do this kind of shit in front of people, they know you're stealing the money. They know your life. They're like, $21,000 private jet. And why would you spend this money if you didn't want to flaunt it, right? Why would you do that? A private jet is something you flaunt. You don't need a private jet. She could have paid $2,000 for first class to fucking New York with all the amenities. That would have been reasonable. But no, instead, she's got to charter a private jet because she wants to be a millionaire. She hangs out with all these politicians that are millionaires throughout the legislature because they steal money. They get insider tips. They launder money. All of them are guilty, man. I don't know any. Okay, I'll say a lot of them are. I know a few that I think are pretty decent. So let me just track that back. I guess I'm a little amped over this. But just every time I see this, it makes me go, who's not stealing? Who's not corrupt as fuck? Who's not caring if you live or die? Who is actually caring? Right? I mean, you don't think Gavin Newsom knew she was chartering? Of course he knew. He knew she was living this life. And he's probably like, I'm staying out of it. apparently, unless we find out he knew. And all we can prove is that he knew she was under indictment for a year and he lied about it. He covered it up when he should have disclosed it to the American people. And that's good enough for me to say that's impeachable. That is disqualifying. But of course, in California, you can just do whatever the fuck you want and stay in political power because Californians are so oppressed by Democrats, they just don't care anymore. And they're California's at a point where it's like, hey, if the cops are actually funded and they show up, that's all we want, just to stay alive now. Isn't that crazy? We're at a point. I saw an article. I was at the gym today. I saw not an article, but I saw Fox News did a thing, and it just happened to be Fox. Look, they play CNN over here. I was on the elliptical. Fox News over here. If I want to be on the bike, you got to watch CNN. Okay, so I'm not just a Fox News guy, and I rarely really watch. I watch clips, right? But anyway, Fox News had an interesting thing that popped up, and I thought it was quite interesting. And it was talking about. I totally forgot my thought. I got caught up in the gym story. I'll get back to it. But anyway, it was an interesting. It showed some sort of comparison. I thought was quite interesting. I totally lost my thought. Anyway, that happens when you're doing things live. But let me jump to the indictment, which is interesting. I'm sure I'll remember that in a second. Okay, so let's see what's interesting on the indictment. Here we go. Where's it at here? Stand by here. Where's the indictment? 1 second. Let me check here what this tab is. Okay, Justice Department. Let me go to the Justice Department tab on my presentation. Nope. Sorry, guys. Right on top. My bad. Okay. So here it is. Okay, so here's the actual indictment filed on the 7th. Okay, so this has been going on for a few days. This was actually filed then. Okay, so the indictment was filed. They knew it was coming down. Because she has to be hit with it at the same time. This is a lot of stuff here. So it's the U.S. versus Dana Williamson. This is her indictment. Now, I believe that these other guys had worked out deals, so their indictments had probably didn't actually happen. They probably just said, hey, we're going to make a deal, so they didn't have to actually go through this process. They've already pled guilty. I mean, they were indicted, but probably it wasn't as official. So Dana Williamson, who lied to the FBI, there's conspirators. Here we are. A conspiracy is not good. Dana Williamson, the founder and the owner of a company, Williamson, a company A. Williamson, through company A, provided public affairs, lobbying, and political consulting services to entities attempting to influence decision-making in California government about 2022. So she formed her own business. So she's a lobbyist while she's working for Newsom. That's not legal. But of course, no one cares. Okay. Williamson left her private employment and accepted a position as chief of staff to a California elected official. Really? We don't want to put Gavin Newsom. It's a joke. They're helping him out. This is a joke. It's frustrating. It should say the governor of California, but they're completely stage managing this so Newsom has separation. She held that position until the 24th of December. I'm sorry, December 2024. Co-conspirator 2 was a former California public official. And I think there's somebody that person has been, for some reason, they don't have the name of the indictment. That person has been doxxed already online. I forget her name. Podesta, I think, is her last name, but she's completely in a lot of trouble. She also had a consulting. These are all people with consulting services. This is how they got away with it. Greg Campbell is another guy here. He was charged by information in case number blah, blah, blah. So he has his own case. He's already pled guilty. He's a registered lobbyist. So lobbyists are part of conspiracies to steal money in California politics at the Capitol. Awesome. Great. Lobbyists. Awesome. Okay, we're supposed to trust you. He was a founding member of Company C. There's all these companies. A hub for public affairs, campaign, crisis management. Okay, well, somebody needs to help him with his crisis. Okay. Campbell also founded another pointless, foolish company where he's ripping people off. Okay. Sean McCluskey. Okay, this guy was much more interesting. This guy, Sean, and his wife were part of the fake job thing. So they were all getting cuts from this. All of them were getting these, I guess they were not micro payments, but they were smaller payments of 10 grand at a time. So they were taking payments out as consultants. So essentially, from what I'm gathering, they told Becerra, hey, we're using this money for consulting because we need consulting. What you need consulting for? I don't know. I mean, whatever. So they lied to him and say, we're paying consultants, which was them. So they were paying themselves out of these, I guess, fake companies or whatever, or paying these fake companies. Then they were cashing the checks. But it was clearly going to the bank. I mean, these guys are idiots. I think they just really thought that they'd get away with it. That's what I just really think. I think they were getting away, or maybe they were just in so deep. They're like, well, if we get caught, we've already hit the max on crime, right? Let's just keep going. I don't know what the truth is, it's hard for me to speculate. I'm not a criminal. I don't know what they're thinking. I didn't study criminology. I'm not an investigator. So it's hard for me to really get a feeling for what these people were thinking. It's nuts. So he was charged in a different case. He's a federal employee serving as the chief of staff. Now, he was the chief of staff to Becerra. So both these chief of staffs were doing this scheme here. He had significant influence over federal decision-making and contracts. In that position, he was also bound by federal ethics and disclosure rules, of course. But they don't give a fuck. He resided near Sacramento, California. So he has 3 houses, or 2, right? So he's 2 locations. So he's traveling back and forth. He's got money. So what's crazy is that I'm not sure if it was, I guess they all had I guess they all got about $250,000 out of this, all of them, right? When you add all the money up. So there's 4 of them, they stole about $1 million. It blows my mind when you see, now maybe this is how they were affording these lifestyles, but they have these lifestyles, but they're still greedy. And they're so greedy to the point to where they talk themselves into stealing from rich people and their bosses out of a campaign account. And maybe this is how people get in these jams and temptations, is they have these lifestyles they build up, and it's hard to track these lifestyles back. Well, welcome to being normal. Welcome to living in a world where you work for your money and you get what you get, right? But these people can't live by our rules. They can't live by the normal rules. They have to just completely keep stealing and justify stealing because they're greedy thieves. There are thieves in the temple, guys. These aren't the only, look, they didn't just come up with this scheme. They copied this. This is a sophisticated scheme that was ham-fisted because they're dummies. Phony Soprano, this McCluskey guy, his dumb wife, they're dumb people. When you have so much to lose, you don't steal money that's going to obviously be missing. Where do they think this money was going to come from to fill the coffers back in? They didn't think Becerra's going to be like, okay, well, who are these people getting my money? Because it's his money. He raised it. And where's the new funds, right? Now, keep in mind, side note, Kamala Harris, they blew $1 billion, wasn't it? Right? They blew through so much money that the scandal is unprecedented. But that just went through, right? Like into the wind. So there's a lot of questions on where did that money go? This is what lobbyists and consultants do. They get big checks and they sit around and pretend to do things when they do jack shit. But their jack shit was running out. So somehow they came together. So my point is, this is a scheme that's done over and over in the Democrat Party. They're just copying the template, but they're so dumb, they didn't think that it was going to catch up with them, and they didn't, I guess, cover their tracks. I don't know. It's nuts. So Miss McCluskey's spouse, a stay-at-home parent who had prior work experience in the media industry. Now, they haven't said her name. I haven't looked it up. I'm sure you can find it. So she's a stay-at-home spouse, and now she's going to be staying at Club Fed because they're getting jail time. Now, so there's 5 conspirators. Okay, so they're all getting now. One of the things that they did was the spouse, they made a fake job for her, a la mafia style, and she was getting paid for a fake job while she was at home, not reporting to the job, but they're cutting checks in her name. That's how they were getting some of this money. That's what the mob does. This is the template, guys. This is an organized crime template. This is what they do. And we keep saying to you, they act like criminals in the Gavin Newsom administration. The state of California legislatures act like crime bosses. They can do no wrong in their minds, and they do no right for us. They continue to steal from us. Look at the energy prices. Oh, now I remember what I was going to tell you. Fox News had the price of gas nationwide and then the price of California gas. $4.69 average in California, $3.09 or whatever in the nation, which is high for the nation. See, if you move to California from another state, you have to have a lot of money or a well-paying job, because if you don't have a good job in another state where the cost of living is half, you come here at sticker shock, you can't afford it. The fact that we pay $2 to $2.50 a dollar, $2 to $2.50, I'm sorry, $2.5 more, $2.50 more. It's late. A gallon, just that's the tax. It's unbelievable. I paid $4.80 yesterday to fill up. So it's outrageous. I was watching a podcast, and somebody in Maryland was like, "Oh, gas dropped to $1. I'm sorry, gas was $2.15. I had to rush out and fill up both my cars." I wish gas was $2.15. That's crazy. It hasn't been $2.15 since the 90s in California, and because of Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom. It's unbelievable. So that's what I forgot to tell you. Gas prices make me crazy. And they have absolute control over it in California. Okay, so back to the campaign funds. Okay, so public official 1 was a federal public official, but had previously held other federal state positions. McCluskey had worked for public official 1 for many years. Okay, so public official 1, that's Becerra. I'll just say Becerra had held public offices. Based on the prior relationship and McCluskey's position as chief of staff, McCluskey had a relationship and position of trust with respect to the public official 1 and public official 1's campaign organization. That makes a lot of sense. So Democrats, the other deeper problem here is Democrats steal from each other. That's what they're doing. They eat their own. So that's why Gavin will never, side note, that's why he'll never get through the primary, because the other Democrats know all of his dirty secrets, like this one. Okay, this was, people knew this. They just hid it. That's the kind of stuff that will come out. Stuff we didn't even know existed when Gavin, if he does, I'm sure he will, gets into the primary. He shouldn't, because his life's going to be turned upside down, especially with the sex stuff in San Francisco and the cocaine rumors and the alcoholism from his, when he was mayor. That stuff's going to be, and then with the internet, he's got all sorts of video of him being a total douchebag from those days, not on top of what he's done recently and then throughout being governor. It's just not going to work for him. His family's going to hate him because the people that he did all sorts of shits with, they're all going to come out of the woodwork. That's what happens with the presidential campaign. And these news organizations that are kissing Gavin's ass, if he's got skeletons, they're going to pull him out and shine those skeletons up in front of the nation, because it will be hot news and they'll be able to get advertisers and it'll be click city, right? So he is got another thing coming. He's disqualified. That's my point. He can try, but he's disqualified. Okay, so back to the trust. So McCluskey had a lot of trust with Becerra, clearly years of trust. So they just stab each other in the back for money. These are the kind of people that are running around the state capital of Sacramento, California. These are the kind of people. They're stealing from each other. They're robbing each other. They're backstabbing each other. They hang out. They know each other's families. They go through all sorts of, years and years of things, events and family and working together. These people feel like family, right? But they'll steal from you because that's what Democrats do in California. Politics. They just fucking, if they can't, the problem is the taxpayers are getting bankrupt. They can't steal from them anymore. So they're just going to steal from each other. Because where do you think that money went? There's also a story, and maybe later on in the indictment, I won't read the whole thing. It's page 3 of 34. It's a lot. I'll read a few more highlights and then we'll move on and we'll wrap this up because there's so much to say. But they have they've bankrupted us. And where do you think that money went? And she also tipped off a business about an investigation. That's in the indictment too. She used insider information about an investigation in the state of California, tipped that business off and helped them out. Why do you think she tipped them off? She got paid. So there are people that she got bribes from that we probably will never know about, because if those people rat her out, they're going to jail too. That's how bribery works. Both sides are, hey, I'm paying you, you're taking the money, we're both guilty, shut the fuck up, right? So she's been taking bribes. If she did this, she's taking bribes. This is how it equates. This is a corrupt woman. This is a thief. It's crook, a robber. McCluskey worked for Becerra for years, stabs in the back and steals from him. Wow. There's no friends in Democrat California politics. I don't know how anybody can trust anybody. So there was deep trust. I doubt that. Immediately prior to accept, okay, I'm just going to read this a little bit. It talks about Becerra, little bio here. He maintained one or more bank accounts. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Talks about the rules and how we got here. A law firm is involved, blah, blah, blah. We'll get, you can read it for yourself. So here, let's jump to 2. Conspiracy and its objects. So from about February 22 through 24, 2 years while she was chief of staff, okay, Williamson did knowingly and intentionally combine, conspire, confederate, and agree with co-conspirator 2, Campbell, McCluskey, and 5, and others known and unknown to the grand jury. There are more people involved in this scheme. Now, this is a grand jury indictment, right? To commit offenses against the United States. Against the United States. These are the people working with Gavin Newsom and Becerra. These are the people surrounding our top politicians. They are crooks and thieves and conspiring against the United States. Offenses against the United States, with each offense consisting an object of the conspiracy. Okay, I'll read this and we'll move on really quick. To knowingly execute and attempt to execute a scheme and artifice to obtain any of the monies, funds, credits, assets, securities, and other property owned by and under the custody and control of a financial institution by means of materially false and fraudulent pretenses. So essentially, they lied to the bank to get that money out. That's bank fraud. Okay. So then they did the foreign wire transmissions. Interest to cause, there was duty. I'm jumping ahead. They omitted material facts to cause interstate and foreign wire transmission, wire fraud. Okay. The purpose of the conspiracy and scheme to defraud was to steal money from Becerra's dormant campaign accounts for McCluskey's own benefit. The money taken from the dormant campaign accounts was covertly funneled through companies controlled by Williamson and Campbell and the co-conspirator, I think, Podesta, too, to hide the money's origin and avoid detection. Then it was disguised as pay to McCluskey's spouse for a no-show job and transferred into an account controlled by McCluskey. Okay, so this goes on and on. All right, so I'll stop sharing that. So there you go. Now that's just 3 pages or 4 pages. It goes on and on and on. And when I have time, I will read it. But we'll wrap up right now. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's in a nutshell what's going on. It's very dense. There's a lot to it. But I wanted to just jump on and talk about it because Gavin Newsom runs a crime syndicate. There's just no two ways about it. Like, he doesn't care. He knows. He knew what was going on. At least she was under investigation let me reframe that. He knew she was under investigation, criminal investigation by the Fed. Okay, the FBI. He did something a month later, but he knew about it for a period of time, did something about it, fired her, let her go, let her resign, whatever it was. That way she could keep her benefits. That's why they didn't fire her. She gets all whatever free stuff she gets. She's making $235,000 a year, stole about $250,000 from what they're saying in the indictment. Conspiracy to steal the money, going out of their way to do it because they're just greedy and just ham-fisted. And then Gavin knew for a year that this was happening. He knew for a year and he hid it. He covered it up. He lied to the people of California. He should have done a press conference. They should have did a press release. They should have told us, but he lied. So he runs a crime syndicate. He protects them. He's corrupt. I don't think there's any two ways about it. And what I think this means is that he's even going to be harder to get through the Democrat primary because everything is going to come back to roost. And the last thing I'll say is there's no way, okay? There's no way that your capo is doing a $21,000 private jet trip and you don't know about it because you guys are connected. When you have a chief of staff, it's 24/7. You know where everybody's at. She's flying with them. She's traveling with them. She knows everything. He knows what she's doing. He knew. He turned a blind eye to it. He covered his ears. See no evil. Tell no evil. I don't know how he didn't know there was something going on. The red flags. The yacht rental. What is she doing on a yacht? Does she look like a yacht person? She is not like a yacht. She is not, all this out of character stuff was completely robbery and no one did anything about it. So his capo, Gavin Newsom's capo, not his current one because he fired her. His capo, Williamson, lied to the feds. She's up for corruption charges, public corruption, conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud. And they hammer you for that stuff. When you're fucking with wire fraud, they will put you away. And bank fraud, they'll take care of your business. So there you go. So Mayor McCarty has a huge problem on his hands. And I don't think this is going to go away. He's in Brazil. When he comes back from Brazil, it's going to be a conversation. We know Trump's going to bring it up. Oh, and by the way, Gavin Newsom's X accounts all day, quiet. I think maybe 7 hours, maybe early in the night, maybe like 12 hours ago, early morning, they were tweeting the normal hateful rhetoric that's lies, but they've been quiet all day because this is a big freaking problem for Mayor McCarty's empire. So thanks for watching, guys. My name is Jason J. Daniel. We'll do more on this. We'll do more on it. So please subscribe, man. Follow me on Twitch, Rumble, YouTube, or X. Please support me. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this, a like and a reshare goes a long way. Tell the people. Tell anybody that you think might find this interesting. I appreciate you guys. I try to podcast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I try to have special guests during the week and Thursday nights as well. So look for my podcast around those times. Sometimes life gets in the way. I try to podcast around 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes we do 12 o'clock. If you want to catch my podcast on a regular basis, the best thing to do is subscribe or follow me. If you follow me on X, you're going to get notified. And if you subscribe, you can be notified as well on YouTube. You just hit that little bell there and you'll be notified. If you were watching on Rumble, I really appreciate that, or Twitch, please subscribe. It will do a lot for the algorithm. And I appreciate that. Again, my name is Jason J. Daniel. My show is officially called the Jason J. Daniel Show. I'm thinking of maybe finding a snappy name, but I kind of like this one. I mean, it's very meta, right? Um, and you can follow me on all the other socials. X is my most, I guess, interesting social. Instagram, it's just me. TikTok, I do now real Jason J. Daniel. I do a sports TikTok. If you're into sports, we cover football, Caitlin Clark, WNBA, little baseball, little basketball, mostly football, because I'm a big football guy, a college and pro. We talk just sports on TikTok. So if you don't care about the politics, check out the sports on TikTok. It's a lot of fun. Thousands of viewers. A lot of fun. So God bless you guys. Just the facts, no judgment on here unless you deserve it. On my show. Thanks for watching. Working on some interviews, and I love interviewing new people as well as friends. So we're going to bring you some good stuff. And go with God. Stay safe. And thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. God bless you. Bye now.